Hey kids everywhere, welcome to Bible Story Time with Pastor Jerry. I'm so glad you're with me, and I promised many of you in Vacation Bible School that I would release a story because there's so many things I want to tell you. Wonderful things that God has taught us in the Bible and how we can live as disciples for Jesus. Say disciples. How we can live as disciples for Jesus until the sovereign comes back, until Jesus comes back as King. So it is my privilege and honor to be with you, and I hope one video every Saturday evening at 4 o'clock in the evening, every Saturday evening at 4 o'clock, we will release that and premiere it on YouTube, okay? So watch out for that and make sure that you get to watch it. You can always watch it after that as well, anytime, because it's always going to be there. And if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see all the videos anytime you want. You can tell your friends about it too. But every Saturday, I want you to take 10 minutes out just to be with me and let me tell you a story. Okay, here goes. You know what I want to share with you? I want to share with you the life of Christ, because we are his disciples. The life of Christ. And it all began, that is, the life of Christ began when he was 12 years old. You know the Christmas story, and you know how the three kings came and the shepherds and Mary and Joseph, the donkey. You know all of that. But 12 years later, it began where Jesus was a 12-year-old boy, and all the cousins and everyone, the friends and relatives, and they had all gone over to Jerusalem, and they had gone to the temple for worship and to give their tithes and their offerings. They had gone to worship there. And it was the annual thing, or sometimes more, they would all go. So can you imagine caravans after caravans after caravans? Some are walking, some on donkeys, some in caravans, and everybody laughing and joking. Some are singing, just like when we go on the train or plane to a holiday place along with our families. So we had all the cousins running around. So they had gone to Jerusalem. Now, when they were heading back home, they had left Jerusalem. The Bible says it had already been 3 or 4 days, and that Mary and Joseph must have been in some caravan up in front, and then Jesus probably was with some of the cousins back and there were so many children and running around. They figured out, Jesus would have hung out with the cousins or with the uncles or aunties, and he would be with everybody else. But 2 days, 3 days into the journey, they discovered to their horror that they had lost their kid. They lost their child, that Jesus wasn't with them. He's just 12 years old. I don't know if you remember ever getting lost and mommy and daddy frantically looking for you in some market. But that's what happened. And Mary, she was like, oh my gosh, I've lost my son. He was promised to me. What a gift. And I've lost him. I don't know where. I don't know what happened. And they turned the caravans around and they started going back to Jerusalem. They started going back. And when they got there in a hurry, they went looking everywhere. The last malls that they had gone to, the shops that they had gone to, the cousins' places that they had gone to. They looked everywhere. And one of the places they decided to check was the temple. They went to the temple, and you know what? As they walked into the temple, there he was, sitting calm, cool, collected. He was sitting with all the older men there, the Pharisees and the scribes and all of the rich religious leaders of that day who were gathered in the temple, and they were all, whoa, wow, okay, what about, and they were discussing with Jesus. 12-year-old Jesus. And Jesus was answering questions and asking questions, and his wisdom, that was God's wisdom, was being seen in his little conversation with them. But then that whole thing was broken with Mary coming in. Jesus, where have you been? And she said, how can you do this to us? How can you do this to us? How can you leave us and fall behind? And Jesus made the most remarkable statement in the Bible, in the history of his life. He made the most remarkable statement. You know what he said? He said, why did you worry? Why did you go looking everywhere? You should have come straight here. Should I not be about my Father's business? See, Mary knew who he was. She knew he was the Son of God. She knew that he was destined for the work of God. They should have come straight to the temple. Always Jesus called the temple my Father's house. You say you're going to church or you're going to the temple, but he said, this is my Father's house because this is where I come to talk to my Father. And he was setting an example for all of us to say two things. Number one, in God's house, there will always be prayer. We must always go to the temple to worship God and to talk to God. And the second thing he was saying is, if I am a son of God the Father, then I must be busy with his work. If I am the son of God the Father, then I must be busy with his work. Are you a child of God? Are you a child of God? That means God is your father. That means his business is your business. So as you grow up, you may be planning to become an astronaut or an electrician or a mechanic or a doctor or a chartered accountant. You may think of a job you want to do. But the reason for your life, the purpose of your life is who you are. And that is, you're a child of God. Therefore, you need to look after your father's business. Jesus set an example at the age of 12. At the age of 12, he knew what his life was going to be about. And he said, I must be about my father's business. That's it. We never hear about that story after that. And after that, the next thing we hear about is when he's 33. And I'll talk about that next time when Jesus goes underwater. Okay? Till next week. I love you. Bye-bye. Write to me. Thank you. Thank you for being with me. Bye-bye.